an example for you. What you're wanting to do is you're wanting to use a start and a stop bit to turn on an average of some values, and you're wanting to connect that to an HMI. So go ahead and create a new project. I've got a 5150 plugged in here, the same PLC you're going to be using, I believe. And I can just next all the way through that. So you're going to be looking for a start and a stop, and you will be controlling some other bit that will, let me see, is averaging, we'll call it. Or we're gonna start it with the value 0, which is off. That might be how you spell averaging, I don't know. Anyways, going to now be looking for a button to be on, and let's say we'll go to tags and we'll rename a couple of these. We'll call B1, we'll call that start, or start input, we could do it, and B2 will be stop input. Okay, and if start input is on, we want to be in averaging mode. Is averaging, or I asked the wrong question. Start input. If so, we're going to copy a 1 into this. Okay, if the start button isn't on, then we want to ask, is the stop button on? Because we'd want to stop it if that was the case. Stop input on. If so, we're going to copy a 0 into it, so we'll stop it. Okay, and now we want to do things if the code is averaging stuff. So we will, let's see here, we'll ask the question, is averaging we'll lead both of these paths to here. So if it's averaging, let's see, this is a time-based thing. We probably want to just sample it every so many milliseconds. So I'll create a timer. Just call it my timer. And we will, let's say we asked if the time was greater than every 1 second. We'll say is my timer greater than 1 second. So we'll take a sample every second, and we'll do, I don't know what kind of operation you want to do here. Maybe we'll do like a 4-second rolling average or something like that. So we're going to do a copy here, and it will be see, this is going to be a I16, I believe. And I'll explain this in 1 second. Okay, we're going to let's see, where do we want to take this input from? This needs to be from, I guess, the analog input. We'll just use the analog input 1, and we want to bring that into sample 1. I don't see it here, but okay. So you'll see we're copying the analog into sample 1, and then last time sample 1 goes into sample 2, and sample 2 goes into 3. So every in this case, I'm saying 1 second, we're basically pushing a new piece of data into the stack, and the one on the top will fall off. So you got 4 samples in this case. Okay, so if it was equal to this 1 second, now we also want to do something else here. We want to go ahead and clear that timer so that it's going to start over for the next second. So I'll copy a 0 into my timer, and that clears it. This is the same thing as a timer reset. I got an attachment up there. I'm not sure I'm ready for it yet. And then to do a average, we can create something called average, and it can just be sample 1 insert plus sample 2 plus sample 3 plus sample 4. And we can do all that divided by 4, and that can be our average. And I don't think it specified many other things in your example, so I'll call that done for right now. And I don't have a potentiometer or anything hooked up to this, so you're not going to see much in the way of changing signals, but I'll run it here in a second anyways, so you can get a tiny example of what it should look like. Okay, so again, so we're up here, we're just determining has the start sample button been pressed, has the stop been pressed. If it's in a position where it should be on, and it should be averaging, then it does this. Then it waits for a second for each new sample. It resets the sample. It goes back around. Next time it goes through the loop, it'll ask if the second has elapsed yet, and it won't have, and it'll wait till that second has, and then it'll start pushing variables through 1 second at a time. It'll be creating that average. When you're wanting to tie it in with your Modbus, the way to do Modbus stuff so you can talk to an HMI is you'll need to assign things like the average. You'll need to assign an address that'll be used. That same address will match up on your HMI. And you'll use, there's 2 separate lists. There's this one for bits, and you'll see it has its own numbers 1 through 1,000, and all the other types of data use this second list, and it also starts at 1 through 1,000. There can be an address 1 here and an address 1 here. In fact, there should be, and they're completely separate lists, so don't worry about them having the same numbers. So it's just a matching game for that stuff. And I will go ahead and program this. Although again, I don't have anything hooked up. So you'll see minor fluctuations because it's just a floating value there. This is, which version did I grab? I can't remember which one I grabbed. I think this is a V10 based on the number there. Unfortunately, it's a pretty darn steady signal. Okay, I'm trying to touch it to cause it to change values ever so slightly. You can see that I'm missing something. Oh, I have yet to turn it on. So let me, got a simulator stick around here. I will Okay, so I just turned it on. You can see me when I flip the switch. You can see it turn on, and when I flip the stop, you can see it turn on there. So I'll turn it back on so you can see the averaging happening. You can see the average there. I'll try to touch the contact and see if I can change the values a little bit. Yeah, you can see that the average changes ever so slightly, but it is working. And then you'll see I can turn the averaging off, and you'll see that it's not doing its averaging anymore. So hopefully that gets you a start on what you're trying to do.